Well guys, it's finally here. Henry Cavill's final season of The Witcher. The Witcher Season 3 released its Part 1, which has 5 episodes last week. And is it any good? No, not really. At this point, I checked out. Kind of like Henry, I walked away from the show. At one stage of my YouTube career, if you want to call it that, this show was the next big thing for me. Game of Thrones was ending, and Netflix announced a Witcher series starring Superman actor Henry Cavill. Just played The Witcher 3 for the second time, I think, at this point, and that's the reason why Netflix picked this up, because that game was massive. And that game is fantastic, one of the best games ever made. And after that, I checked out the books. So when Netflix were doing a show, you knew I was going to pick this up. But ever since the beginning, it's kind of went down the ways. Season 1's alright, has its issues, especially around the multiple timelines. Season 2 is bigger budget, bigger production, good performances, especially from characters that didn't have the time to shine in Season 1, but they just threw the books away. And then you had the Blood Origin disaster, Henry Cavill leaving after this season. So going into this, I had very, very low expectations. And even though I said it wasn't good, it's not as bad as I feared. There were some decent moments, especially when Geralt's around. I think all 3 of the main characters have great chemistry, but when they disappear, it becomes a snooze fest. And with Yennefer, it's so difficult because they screwed her up so much last season. The damage is done, and even though this season follows the books very closely, when it comes to all the main points, why is this praise? Why is that a defense of the series? This should be a standard. And then you throw in all the filler, all the new stuff, questionable casting, Marvel humor, TikTok-esque nonsense, pointless characters, and many, many opportunities for toilet breaks. It's no secret that Netflix wanted the next Game of Thrones, a large ensemble fantasy show, characters all over the world, several intertwining plotlines. But we have a problem. The secondary characters in Game of Thrones are far more interesting and more established than those in the Witcher world. There's not much written about these secondary characters, and it's not through their point of view. So when you try to force them to the front, it's difficult. Many have questioned the writing on The Witcher, and the fact, supposedly anyway, they hated the source material. I don't think we'll ever know the truth. I don't think Henry Cavill is the kind of guy to come out once his contract expires and slag off the writers. I don't think that's what he would do. But when you say he left because they weren't committed to telling the story from the books, it's hard to question against that. I think some of the best moments this season are the Witcher family together, especially in the first episode. It starts off with a nice montage of the main trio on the run, relocating all the time, and you get a great scene when Geralt butchers a bunch of dudes trying to find Ciri. All the stuff the fans want. But after that, episode 1 kind of becomes a rocky road. And especially episode 2, where Geralt was missing for so long. And I was getting bored at this point. But I think The Witcher is at its best when Henry gets to be Geralt. Yeah, the flashy sword fights are awesome, but it's the heartwarming moments with Ciri that are peak Witcher for me. But then when you go into all these other secondary characters who most of the fans don't even know, don't even care about, can't even remember their names. They all discuss politics and it puts you to sleep. But politics are a major part of this series, especially in this book. But when it comes to fantasy television, you're gonna have to have some action, some interesting stuff that isn't just people talking about politics and wars. This show is never going to be daily monster hunting. That's not what The Witcher's about, not really. But I felt all the political scheming kind of put me to sleep. And everyone's wanting Ciri, but why? It's hard to keep up with, especially when there's too many names and faces. For example, Robbie and Mel's character is just so distracting with his gruff voice. Or then you have Dijkstra's weird fetish of being whipped. Why? Then some random character like Jaskier's rival bard, acting like he's straight out of a TikTok video or a musical, takes you right out of the fantasy. And I can't remember how many times I counted where characters felt like they belonged to a 21st century American sitcom. At this point, guys, The Witcher's just went full-on generic fantasy, trying to appeal to as many people as possible. It's all about the memes and the Twitter reactions. It's kind of lost its identity along the way. And you think about it, what's everyone talking about online? The awesome fight scenes like Blaviken in Season 1, or breakout performances such as Anya Chalotra in Season 1, or even the major twists like Vilgefortz being behind Rayance all along, or even the overly complicated padded out final episode, or the random cliffhanger of Dijkstra pulling a knife on Geralt. No, none of that really. Major talking points are Henry's leaving, Witcher's done, and Jaskier and Radovid are now together? If that's what they're all talking about, then your show's kind of lacking. And speaking of Jaskier, he's been heavily pushed now, basically promoted to main cast, now that Henry's on his way out. Yeah, Jaskier was a fan favourite, especially in Season 1. Toss a coin to your Witcher was a movement. But right now I just feel he's a meme, especially when you chucked him into Blood Origin just for a famous face. I get why people like him, and I kind of did like Jaskier in Ciri moments at times. For instance, when they were making up quotes for Geralt and Yennefer. Guys, I didn't hate everything, but nothing really stood out for me. I still think Season 1's the best. I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as Blood Origin, but it would be hard to top that, because that was one of the worst shows I've ever seen. But that final episode, with its cliffhanger and its padded out scene, it just felt so repetitive, so over padded out, and all is not as it seems played constantly just felt so on the nose. I think it's a clever idea, but it was poorly executed. Very repetitive, and it's so easy to lose focus. And the big plot twist is it was Vilgefortz all along, a character no one cares about because Netflix have misused him. He got his ass kicked in Season 1 by Cahir, which is laughable. And what did he do in Season 2 apart from sleep with Tissaia? And this is a huge moment in the book, but so far I think they've mishandled this character, and pretty much every character so far. Like I said, they're going to release the final 3 episodes on July the 27th. We'll have to make a video on that, see how it plays out, see what they do with the Geralt recasting, because many people think there's going to be a teaser for Season 4. Maybe Geralt's going to get his ass kicked that badly and he's going to need a face reconstruction. I don't know. But make sure you post your thoughts. Did you like Season 3? Is there anything you liked? For me, I liked pretty much everything that Henry was doing. No matter what script he was given, he always put in a shift. And really, most of the performances were fine. I really don't think it's any of the actors' fault. The material they've been given, though, is just not up to the standard. But then you could argue that some of the casting wasn't great. And it also kind of felt like the budget has been reduced, or maybe it's been capped compared to Season 2. Some of the green screen was very noticeable, especially early on. And obviously there's that infamous scene of the Wild Hunt, where Geralt comes in and clears the Wild Hunt, who, in case you don't know from Blood Origin, are completely ruined. But Geralt comes in with 2 Ards, takes them out, and that's the Wild Hunt for you. But like I said, Blood Origin completely butchered them, so they're irrelevant. And to me, it kind of felt like there was fewer fights, fewer monsters, more standing around, more talking, more padded out moments. Like I said, Time of Contempt is a very politically driven book, with the major payoff at the end being the coup of Fanad. So this was going to be a difficult book to adapt. And it is a shame because The Witcher had so much potential. And even though it's not been a great ride, there has been great moments. But I don't think there'll be many from Season 3. But for now, take care guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.